In this video, I'll be ranking every single character in Tekken 8 by how hard they are to play. This is going to include factors like how hard they are to pick up, how hard they are to win with. Many people have said this before, but in top level, every single character is hard. So this list is going to be more geared to beginner and intermediate players. Before we get started, this tier list is going to be, of course, fully my opinion, so a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine. We are also very new to Tekken 8. The game's only been out for a couple days, so a lot of this stuff could change dramatically. Because of that, this is mainly just made for fun. But you know, feel free to send your angry comments anyway. Another thing, the characters are not going to be ordered between tiers. That's about it. Let's begin. So, in my personal opinion, I think easy characters are always better in fighting games, mainly just because my philosophy on it is like, with an easy character, you don't have to worry about like fighting against the character. If you're playing like Kazuya and you're all super worried about execution and optimizing every single combo and making sure everything's perfect like that, you're not actually like paying attention to what your opponent is doing, which is how we win in fighting games. So I think you want an easy character, in my opinion, if you want like, if you don't care about competing, it doesn't matter. But in terms of like competition, when you play an easy character, it just means you can fully focus on just looking at what your opponent does and figuring out how do I counter what my opponent does? You have to like fight against your own character. And if, let's say like your execution's off one day, you don't have to worry about just like playing really bad because it doesn't matter, you're playing an easy character. So yeah, in my opinion, I always generally gravitate towards easier characters in fighting games. So speaking of easy characters, we'll start with Jin, my main. I'd put him in probably easy. I think he is his difficulty is a little bit overrated. Everyone is saying he's like one of the easiest in the game. Personally, might be a little biased because he is the character I've been playing the most. I don't think he's like as easy as some other characters. Yes, they have made him a lot more streamlined in this game. He's a lot simpler with the forward down 2 being like so strong and just kind of like overpowering all of your other moves. But I think he still is relatively difficult compared to like very, very easy characters. He does still have a lot of stuff. You're going to need to be able to electric out of standing if you want to play him well. I know he does get the free electrics out of stances, but you're going to need to still be able to electric out of standing for pressure up close, which is important. You're going to need a good wave dash if you want to go far on Jin. So these stuff are hard. It's just, and again, just like in Tekken 7, because he was one of the hardest characters in the game in Tekken 7, and in Tekken 8, he still has all the moves that made him hard. It's just you don't need to use them as much because these new moves are so strong. So, but the moves are still there, right? So if you want to like fully master the character, there is some difficulty there. Another thing is just he's so popular and he's so simple with the moves people are using. A lot of people are just going to know the matchup like so incredibly well, and that definitely makes them a little bit harder in my opinion. Like he doesn't have a ton of like weird matchup checks like some other super easy characters. So I'd say Jin is easy. Not one of the easiest, but he is still like way easier. He's a way more dumbed down version. Like in comparison to Tekken 7, yeah, he's brain dead, but he's still like not like the easiest of the easy. Jack, somewhere between these two, probably top of easiest. Oh yeah, and I said it earlier, these tiers aren't going to be ordered, so don't worry about that. I put him in easiest. He's very, very simple character. Plays a very fundamental game of Tekken with his pokes, his long, very, very long range pokes with his lows as well. Now he has the new stance 50-50, which is super broken. He's one of the best characters in the game with heat, insane damage, but doesn't really have any execution demands at all. Pretty easy to understand, I think. I think he's a great character for newcomers. You'll see that like all of the characters who are in easiest and easy are excellent for newcomers. So I'd put him in easiest. Jun is also one of the easiest. Another very, very simple female character. She has lots of strings to like mix you up, lots of like very gimmicky stuff like that. You can get a lot of wins really quickly. Doesn't really have any execution at all, basically. Very strong though, insane damage for like, it's like the easiest characters. Playing against them is generally like really hard, but playing as them is super, super easy, like super easy. So you could pick up Jun really, really quickly and do well with her. Combos are also pretty easy and they do like insane damage. So yeah, I'd say she's one of the easiest. Kazuya, one of the hardest in the game. I'm sure everyone knows this by now. 50-50 Vortex is still very much in the game. You still need insane. His new staple combos off of electric, the cancel thing, is really, really difficult to do. Insanely hard. You need like on Jin and Devil Jin to an extent, you can get away with not having a great wave dash. Reina as well. But on Kazuya, if you don't have a good wave dash, you're boned. Like it's so, like your 50-50 is just not threatening anymore. People are just gonna mash in your face. So he's simple in terms of he doesn't use a ton of moves, but again, first of all, everyone's going to know the matchup, so you have to work really, really hard for that. And yeah, execution demands are off the charts. You have to just play your opponent, fully play them, always know what they're going to do. and think of the right move to use. So Kazuya is one of the hardest in the game in my opinion. King is like middle of the road. I have it, it's advanced here. A lot of people think King is like completely brain dead. I disagree with that. I tried playing him. I do have a guide coming out for him soon. I haven't made it yet, but he's hard. Yeah, doing the grabs really quickly, especially now in Tekken 8 because you get rewarded for that, is hard. It's going to take a lot of practice. Some of his combo routes, just like even finishing it with a throw, it can be difficult for new players. You have to know like when to mix up your throws. Yeah, definitely more difficult than the average character, I'd say. There's a lot to him that a lot of people don't understand. So yeah, I'd put him in advanced. Lars, he's generally considered a good newcomer character. After playing him for a good amount, I'd say he's around here. Basically, he's a stance transition character. He's all about stance pressure. I think he's harder than most people give him credit for, just because, first of all, he's very, very complicated in terms of you have to know like which moves to use in every single situation. It's not like some of the other simpler characters we'll see down here where it's like, okay, we have like one, like really good move for every situation. No, he has like lots of moves and you need to know them all really well. He has 3 stances and with great moves out of all of them, you have to know like when do I transition into silent entry? When do I go into the new stance by holding down? He's complicated in that sense where you really have to know what you're doing on him. But he is easy in that he has a bunch of moves that he has built-in movement, so you don't have to worry about like execution or anything. Combos are all super simple, very, very high damage, not a lot of effort. So he's easy in that respect, and good buttons. Can teach you fundamentals very well. I'd put him in easy. Law, easiest, one of the easiest characters in the game now. They completely botched his stance. It used to be very hard execution to actually do it consistently. Now you literally just hold forward off of all of his moves. They've tried really hard to make him simple in this game, make him very simple in this game. He could go up to easy with Jin. He's kind of like Jin, except he doesn't really have the execution, which Jin kind of has. So keep him here for now, but again, these aren't ordered, and I'm going to rearrange them probably later. So yeah, that's Law. Paul, again, somewhere between these two. Probably put, it's hard to say. Like, I want to put Jin in easy, not easiest. Or, sorry, I want to put Paul in easy, not easiest, just because he's so basic. He's like a fully single hit character. Like, you have to know what your opponent is doing at all times to be successful in this character. Doesn't really have a lot of gimmicky strings. It's mainly just a demo man that people fall for in low level. Like, you won't see Paul's like spamming super gimmicky counter hit strings because he really doesn't have any. I think, they've also added the new execution. You can now end combos with the jab death fist, which is very hard to do. I've actually been practicing it, and it's a lot harder than people think. So yeah, I'm gonna put him in this tier. He is still easy because besides that, doesn't really have execution. Very, very simple. Only uses like 8 or 9 moves. Really doesn't use a ton of moves, and he's very like easy to understand. But he could be an advanced, but no, I'm gonna keep him in easy for now. Nina is pretty hard, yeah. I learned her. I don't know like a ton about this character. I did learn her for a guide I did a while back, but she has insane execution with her butterfly loops. People are still labbing that. I don't even know if it's good in this game, but just so many different complicated moves, so many different transitions. She cancels her moves into side steps and forward dashes for big plus frames. There's so much to the character. Definitely wouldn't recommend Nina for beginners at all. Xiaoyu is she's probably between easy and advanced. I'd say probably easy for now. I could put her in advanced though. She's pretty complicated. There's a lot of stuff to learn on her that you have to know, but she gives free wins just so incredibly easily because no one knows the matchup, and she's probably the biggest matchup check character in the game, one of them at least. But you get like so many free wins on this character, but you do have to take the time to like learn all of her different like strings and stances and flowcharts and everything. But she's probably harder to get started than like some of these characters. But realistically, like people will probably put her in like any of these 3, and she probably does have like some execution I don't know about. So I could see her going in here or here. I'll leave her in easy for now. Asuka is one of the easiest in the game. Not much to say about her. She's incredibly simple. very, very basic buttons that just do everything. There are tons of strings that are super safe. She has tons of built-in evasion and defense, and her parry is like super strong. You don't have to worry about like the character at all. If Asuka was good, she'd be like the perfect tournament character, because you could just literally just, there's nothing to really think about your own character. Just fully focus on your opponents. But her problem is she's not very good right now. She's actually pretty bad. I guess you could make the argument that like a character being bad makes them harder because you have to work through the character being bad. I'm kind of just basing this on a vacuum. This really has nothing to do with viability. Some of the bad characters in this game are not hard, even though it's probably hard to win against good players. But I'm not basing it off of that. So she's very, very simple to play. Like no execution, easy buttons, nothing much to her. Leroy, in the same vein. Again, this isn't ordered, so don't be like, oh, you said Leroy's harder than blah, blah, blah. No, don't worry about that. Leroy, very, very easy. He's always been very simple. Again, not very strong right now, but he has super good buttons for like every situation. His hermit stance, there's like so many like, he has a lot of like knowledge checks that your opponent won't know. Some of the best pressure in the game, but it's not like pressure where you actually have to like learn what to do after this sequence, what to do after this. It's all just like manual, just like punch, 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 punch. He has his punches are like really, really good for chip damage in this game. Very, just an overall simple character, no execution. Yeah, super, super easy character to get started with. Lily is probably between advanced and easy. Again, she has a lot of strings, so a lot of like gimmicky stuff that a lot of people don't know how to deal with. But she also does have a lot of like really, really strong like fundamental based tools. So she does actually have to like outplay you a lot of the time. Probably not in lower ranks, but I'd put her like in the same area. You could argue either of these two, you could argue they deserve to be in advanced, and I'd totally agree with you. So I could see them going up there, but I'll keep her in easy for now, just because she doesn't really have like a ton. I guess you have to know her kit decently well, but she's more so focused on your opponent character, kind of like Paul. Sorry to interrupt the video quickly. I just want to let you guys know that only 7% of my viewers are actually subscribed, okay? And we got to get those numbers up, boys. So if you guys are enjoying this content and are interested in more, I've got lots more educational content, analysis, more tier lists like this, tons more stuff coming. If you guys are interested, please consider subscribing to the channel. It helps me out a lot. Anyway, back to the video. We have Hwoarang, another one. Pretty easy. Not the easiest, though. He does have some stuff. He could go in advanced or easy. I think for now, I'll keep him here. He is a character who... He has a lot of strings. He has a lot of conversions. I know a lot of people struggle against him in ranked. Just because it's just like kick, 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 kick. It feels like he never lets up. He does have some of the best offensive pressure in the game for sure. But you have to know like really, really well, okay, which kick am I going to do? He requires... There's some execution to him. You have to know... Like, it's not like auto combos, auto pressure like a lot of these characters. You have to actually know like when to do this one, when to do this one, how to like get your moves to connect really well into each other. You could say, yeah, you could argue he's probably advanced too, but I'll keep him in here for now. Claudio, another character, easy, very similar to Paul in that single hit character, relies on knowing the opponent, getting good timing, outplaying them, and that's it. Just like knowing what the enemy is going to do. That's his whole game plan, basically. He is a little bit more gimmicky than like Paul, I'd say, because he does have the while running 2 pressure is just like so insane in this game, especially in heat. You could make a case for him being like down here, but I think he belongs in here. You have to like have a very, very good neutral to play this character, so I'm gonna put him there. Azucena is one of the easiest characters to play, I think. She kind of just does it all for you. She really does, similar to Asuka, except Azucena is like really, really strong. Great buttons, great strings, great mix-ups. Simple, fundamental character. You have the auto parry and the stance, where like if you hit her with I think it's a high or a low, I think, she automatically evades it, and then she can get big stuff off of that. Very, very strong character. Gonna be a great tournament pick. Get ready to see a ton of Azucena players in tournaments. There's gonna be a lot of them. Dragonv. Easy, between easy and advanced. He's simple, and that's he plays a very fundamental game of Tekken. He's very, very aggressive, and he's a little bit more brain dead in this game. He'd probably be here in Tekken 7, just because he has the new strings that are like so busted, the new counter hit strings that everyone's spamming. But he's very, very good. You need to know what your opponent's doing. You need to know your movesets as well, but he could be in any of these 3 tiers. These ones are a little bit more hard, but I'll put him in. I'd say he's a pretty easy character generally. Kuma and Panda are both easiest. There's really nothing advanced to them at all. They basically just exist to be matchup checks. I'm sorry to the few Kuma and Panda players who are watching. The characters is still cool and they're fun to play, but it's mainly just, oh, okay, you don't know what my character does, so you lose on rank. That's what Kuma and Panda are. Very simple, not really any execution. Not a lot to the characters. Just basic knowledge checky characters. Leo is probably an advanced, I'd say. Plays a fundamental all-around character, fundamental game of Tekken. You have to spend a lot of time actually learning, like when to use certain moves on Leo and when to not. A little bit of execution there. Probably an advanced, or the top would be at the top of easy, but I'll keep Leo in advanced for now. Leo just feels like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It just feels like this character just has more to him than these two, or they, I guess, because we don't know the gender of Lee. Shaheen goes on easy along with the trio here. This is like the basic fundamental trio of Paul, Claudio, and Shaheen. Very basic, very honest Tekken gameplay. Doesn't really have too many gimmicks. I believe he's been added. He has a little bit more execution in Tekken 8. With some of the charge up stuff, I think. I don't know. I haven't really dived into Shaheen a lot, so this could be super off. If it is, just let me know. But he could be an easiest. I'll keep him here with these 3 just for consistency's sake. Raven is relatively, he's probably more so here. It's hard to say though. Raven is like a very matchup checky character as well, which you'd think, okay, it'll be an easiest. There's like so much to his kits, but he also has like a lot of really good fundamental tools. He does have some execution. He has a wave dash. There's like stuff you're gonna have to learn. You're gonna have to learn when to use certain pokes, when to use certain like long range. Probably an advanced. Is he more difficult than like these 3? I'd say he's definitely more difficult. Is he more difficult than like Dragonv and Hwoarang? Maybe. I'll keep him there, but I could definitely move him down later. We have Steve, for sure one of the hardest characters in the game. There's so much to Steve. He's a very, very unique character. Boxer, all about counter hits. So timing is everything for Steve. You don't have like a bunch of moves to just throw out and just throw like safe launchers. He's all about just constantly pressure, pressure, pressure. I know when my opponent's gonna hit, and when my opponent does press a button, they explode with damage. Has very hard execution, some very difficult combos to do. You're gonna need to spend a lot of time if you want to learn Steve. But he's really cool in this game, so I think a lot of new players are like kind of scared off because they hear how hard he is. But he's really, really cool, so you should give him a chance if you think you like him. Yoshi is pretty easy, kind of like Zhao Yu in the sense that there is like a lot of stuff you have to learn about him, like a lot of different like flow charts and a lot of different things you can do. But he's simple in the sense that like no one's gonna know. It's kind of like Kuma. No one knows the matchup. You're just like spamming things and exploding and just mashing all your sword stuff. Now he's even better because everything's unblockable and he takes health from you now. Pretty easy character. He could even go down here. Like he's very, very easy to win with. Again, he's a little bit higher because there's a lot of stuff you need to know about him, but you could make an argument for these characters going up. You can make an argument for any of these characters going up 1 tier or down 1 tier. You definitely could. Feng Wei, this is going to be a hot take because I recently learned Feng Wei from my guide. I actually think Feng Wei is a lot more difficult than people give him credit for. He could be over here with Jin. In fact, he probably, I'm not sure. Mainly just because Feng Wei, he's demanding in the sense that it feels like to use him effectively, you have to know everything about the character. Like any of these characters, you could play them and probably see success with like, even with Jin, like Jin's not even like that anymore. You don't need like a ton of moves to be successful on him. Even the girls, because you just have like a bunch of strings you can use. But Feng Wei, it feels like you have to know like which move you can use in every single situation, like always. And it's not like some of these other characters where they still have that, but they also have like other good options. Like Dragonv has as well running too. These girls, I don't even know what they fucking have, just like a bunch of bullshit. But Feng he's not really matchup checking too many people besides the launching lows, which I guess you have to be ready for. But I don't know, learning this character, I just felt like there's a lot to him. Like you can't like, there's no shortcuts with learning this character. It feels like you have to learn everything. But he doesn't really have any execution, no execution at all, so he could be down here. This is just my my very personal take, so feel free to disagree. Alisa, a very easy character, just standard chainsaw, string. But unlike some of the other characters here, she doesn't really have to learn anything really. Like she has the stances that just takes her, flies her across the whole stage, so there's no execution involved in any part of her kit. Just a million different chainsaws. Ranked players love this character. But you could make the argument that she goes in here. I feel like there's less on her than on these two girls, so that's why I put her in easier. I feel like there's just like less to the character than them. Devil Jin. I've been playing a lot of Devil Jin as well. He's probably my second most played right now. He could go in hardest or hard tier. I'm not too sure. Basically with Devil Jin, he's still a Mishima, so he still has the electric. You need to be able to chain electrics together. You need a really good wave dash. You need to be able to do all that stuff. So that already makes him decently hard. But now with his new Morning Crow stance, I feel like he is a lot easier than he was before. Mainly just because you don't, like, there's nothing you really need the wave dash, if you don't want to use that, you can just forward 3 and get in, like, at any point at any time. Just full screen, forward 3, you're in their face. He has the new up 1 chain attack, which is broken, in my opinion. That just gives you plus frames and plus frames. So it feels like they're trying to, they're giving him more stuff, so he's not just poke-based fundamental Mishima. So I think because of that, I would actually put him in hard rather than hardest. You could definitely make an argument for him being up here, but I'd say he is a little bit easier in Tekken 7 compared to how he was in... Or sorry, he's a little bit easier in Tekken 8 compared to how he was in Tekken 7. But yeah, you could definitely make the argument for him going up. That's what after playing him, I'm like, he's still very hard, but he feels a little bit simpler than these two. Lee, insanely hard. Oh my god, all the just frame windows. He's always been one of the hardest characters in the game, and he's no different in Tekken 8. So much you have to learn. You have to know all about the character. All of his combos are hard. Insane execution. Very difficult, very demanding character. Zafina, either here or here. Put her like here. Very matchup checky. Very, okay, you have to know what my weird stances are where I'm on the ground. You have to know how to beat that. He kind of relies on that. Doesn't need fundamentals too much, especially in lower level. High level, of course, you will, but she's pretty weak right now, actually, which is surprising. Everyone's talking about how bad Zafina is. I'd put her around these two probably. So I'd say if you're gonna move them up, you move all three either up or all three down. You could argue for any of them. Victor, kind of like Raven. I'd say is a little bit easier than Raven. Mainly just because of how much you have access to. You have access to so many different strings, so many different weird stuff. His grabs apparently are like way harder to break than other characters, which just like, why does he need that? All of his grabs are like insanely difficult to break, so that already is like really, really good for him. We have insane range, so you don't need to worry about spacing too much because a lot of his moves will just hit from full stage away. Lots of gimmicks, lots of like weird gun transitions, stance transitions. So you do have to learn a little bit about the character, a lot more than these guys. But I would say that overall he's pretty simple to play. He's definitely not that hard. Could be advanced, mainly just because of the stance stuff. But nah, I'm gonna keep him easy for now. He doesn't seem too difficult. Bryan is a very difficult character, always has been, because of the taunt upper stuff. A lot of execution required. You need to know the character really well. Not a ton of, not very gimmicky. Not a ton of gimmicks you can use. Definitely one of the hardest. Bryan's always going to be one of the hardest. Reina, I think I'd put Reina in the same tier as Devil Jin for now. Reina is good because she excels at low level as well. So unlike, I feel like Kazuya and Devil Jin, specifically Kazuya, we'll say Kazuya for this example. Kazuya at a low level is going to be a lot harder because your opponents aren't really respecting you. Everyone's just mashing all these strings. To use Kazuya effectively, like his game plan, it's a lot better against like players who respect you. And getting to that point, it feels like Kazuya is very weak until you start getting really good. And once you get like really good as a player, Kazuya gets way better. Same with Devil Jin. Reina feels like kind of like Jin in the sense that like she's good at all levels of play. Like Jin, she has lots of stuff at low level you can abuse. She's all the stances and all the rolls and all the matchup checks, tons of stuff like that. But she is very, very complicated, and it does feel like as you get better at the game, she just gets so much better. So she just keeps going. Great for beginners, great for mid-level, great for high level, like just great at all points. So I'd put her there. You could argue any of these characters going up or down, but I think that seems like a pretty good spot for her. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the list. Again, fully my opinion. If you disagree, perfectly fine. It makes sense. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you guys agree or disagree with, and I'll see you guys later. Take it easy.